Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Rosy Barik, Assistant Professor. I am going to teach you about the human resource demand analysis in Human Resource Planning, Block 2, Unit 1. Code is MMPH-003. First of all, we should know what is human resource demand. The human resource demand forecasting is the process of estimating the human resources requirements in right quantity and right number. That means the number of people required for running the organization in near future. So, in this topic, we will be discussing on about determining the HR demand. We have two case studies, that is elimination of jobs at Google and succession planning at Microsoft. As we know that these are the two biggest organization where we can see the methods used. So quantitative methods of demand forecasting and the qualitative methods of the demand forecasting. So before starting, so we should know about what is demand forecasting. So introduction, here the HR forecasting is the fundamental elements of HR planning which helps the organization to anticipate and prepare for the personal needs, the number of employees required for the organization. It involves estimating the net requirement for employees by analyzing both current Sir, headphone টা দিন। It involves estimating the net requirements for employees by analyzing both current and future human resource demand and supply. It identifies gaps between the demand for and availability of employees. HR forecasting enables organizations to devise effective strategies to reconcile these deficiencies or differences. So, HR forecasting is intricately linked with other important HR verticals such as training, development, succession planning, talent acquisition, and managerial appraisal. We can say it performance appraisal. It focuses on various methods, or we can say two methods, basically two methods, quantitative methods as well as qualitative methods. So, determining HR demand, each subunit of HR demand submits its manpower requirements based on the organizational and subunit's goal. Voluntary attrition, we can say it is resignation or retirements. Involuntary attrition, that is transfer, termination, long-term leaves, and other forcing event. Expansion or downsizing, staff adjustment based on new department, job elimination process or role changes. Non-productive paid time, that is non-working days like vacations and sick leave, impact the HR demand. A comprehensive total number of employees required across subunits. It includes adjustment of attrition and organizational restructuring. Non-working days like vacation and sick leaves impact our HR demand. The solution is that employ temporary or gig workforces, which increase the overtime of existing staff. Next, HR demand calculation. The total employees needed is equal to the comprehensive total number of employees required across the subunits. It includes adjustment for attrition or organizational restructuring. The skill set and competencies required, identifying the specific skills or competencies needed for optimal role fit. Outcome, we can get the clear understanding of the number of employees and qualifications required to effectively meet the organizational goals. So here is the case study of elimination of jobs at Google. We can go through it later. So as we have discussed about two methods of demand forecast, one is quantitative method and another one is qualitative method. The quantitative method focused on quantity required for estimating or forecasting the human resource required in the organization. So HR professionals combine several methods to generate prediction about future manpower requirements. These methods can be both qualitative as well as quantitative. So quantitative methods are trend analysis, ratio analysis, regression analysis, cohort analysis. So first of all, the trend analysis. It is the quantitative approach that attempts to forecast the future personnel need by extrapolating from historical changes in more than one organizational index. That means it shows or we can find out the future HR demand required based on the past data or historical data. Suppose if we'll consider 2022 as the current year as given in the table, the sales in thousands, that is in 2022 3300, the number of employees in 2022 is 177, whereas ratio of sales and employees which gives 18.64. So we can foresee the sales, the number of employees and ratios as like the number of sales in 2023 is 3500, 2024 is 3600, 2025 is 3850, and the number of employees similarly we can see the in the 2023 it will become 188, in 2024 it will become 193, and 2025 it will become 207. Similarly, the ratios of sales and employees, here we can see in 2023, the ratio will be 18.64, 2024 the ratio will be 18.64, and similarly 2025 the ratio will be 18.64. So here we can say in notes that the current time in 2022 and the future estimates for manpower are proposed for 2023, 24 and 25. The sales estimates of those years are also futuristic in nature. Employee number has been forecasted for 2023, 24, 25 as 3500, 3600, 3850. The next index used to calculate the HR demand can be most recent figure in 2022. That is the ratio of sales and employees 18.64, or and the average of 4 years from 2029 to 2022, which is 18.44 years. In this trend analysis, the most recent figure ratio, that is 18.64, was used for the forecasting. So here we can say the average ratio from 2029 to 22, that is 18.44. But after that, gradually in 23, 24 and 25, we can forecast it as 18.64. So the forecasting ratio was 18.64. The 5 steps used to conduct the trade analysis, which includes selection of proper operational index. That means normally forecasters use the readily available business index such as the sales level that has direct impact on HR demand forecast. As we have seen in the previous slide that you can see here, the if we'll consider 2022 as the current year, we can forecast the sales and number of employees and ratio of 23, 24 and 25 will be based on the past previous year data, that is 2029, 2022, 2021 and 2022. The track next step is track the progress of business index selected over the time. Once the appropriate index is selected, it is necessary to collect the historical data on the same to make accurate forecast both for the index and for the estimated manpower. So first of all, we have to find out the appropriate index. Then only we can find the historical data to calculate or to forecast the index or estimated manpower. Then track the workforce progress over time. It is the most important to track the progress of workforce both in direct and indirect method to understand the fluctuation in manpower. So basically the fluctuation occur, it may fluctuate from year to year or it may fluctuate from historical data to current data. So we have to track the workforce progress over the time. The next step is calculation the average ratio of the business index to the workforce size. The ratio retains the importance as it is described the relationship between two variables, that is sales and the number of employees over a certain period, that we have discussed in the previous table. Then calculate the forecasted demand of the labor. Then we have to divide the business index selected by the average ratio for each future year to arrive the forecast for the number of employees that we have calculated in the previous year, that since 2019 to 2022 the average ratio was 18.44, and after that after 2022 it became 18.64 in 2023, 2024 and 2025. Now comes to the ratio analysis. We can say the ratio analysis is a straightforward quantitative demand forecasting technique commonly used by many organizations. So it is the basis of ratios of production level and the number of workers required or available in the organization. And this ratio will be used to estimate the demand of HR resources. So, if the sales level is probably most common index used by the organization in ratio analysis, the other operational indices include the number of unit produced, as I have discussed that it is the ratio of production and the manpower required, the number of customers catered to, and the number of man hours worked. That is the number of hours the men are working in the organization. Let us take an example of one ratio analysis. Suppose a company manufactures 50,000 desktop or computers in a year. The price of a desktop is rupees 25,000. The company spent 5,000 per desktop in materials and 2 lakh man hours to make the desktops. So compute the following ratios to assess the productivity. The ratios are output by labor ratio in terms of manpower. So output here it is mentioned that 50,000 by labor ratio, that is the man hours to make the desktop, that is 2 lakh. So 50,000 divided by 2 lakh, which is equal to 0.25 desktop per man hours. Similarly, if we calculate the output value by labor ratio, that is output value is equal to, as we have given, it is given that output value is 50,000 and desktop into 25,000 divided by 2 lakh manpower, that is 6250 man hours. We can calculate it on the basis of 50,000 into 25,000 divided by 2 lakhs, as we can find the output value divided by labor ratio, that is per man hour, that is 6250 per man hour. Similarly, value added by labor ratio, so value added is equal to net gains is equal to output value material cost, which is equal to 50,000 into 50,000 is the output produced, that is number of desktop or computers produced per year, into 25,000 price per each desktop. That means total price for total value of total output is equal to 50,000 into 25,000 minus 50,000 into 5,000, because company spent 5,000 rupees per desktop. So total amount will be 10 lakh divided by 2 lakhs is equal to 5 rupees per man hour. So here, as we have calculated the ratios to access the productivity. So we found that 5 rupees per man hour. So next technique is regression analysis. So it is also one of the valuable quantitative tools that is used, and it can be used in both SPSS as well as Excel, but more preferably we can use it in SPSS. So the regression analysis is a forecasting technique. So it is a valuable quantitative tools used to forecast the short term, medium term and long term time frames. So it relies on identifying a linear relationship between independent variables and the dependent variables. So for calculating the regression analysis, we should know which are coming under the dependent variable and which are coming under the independent variable. Here the independent variables are factors influencing the outcome, whereas dependent variables are outcome itself. The purpose of regression is that the techniques which aims to predict how change in one variable, that is sales revenue, can impact another variable, that is HR demand. So here we can see how change in one variable, if there is a change in sales revenue, then what will be the impact in HR demand. So an increase or decrease in independent variable. So here we can consider the sales revenue as the independent variable. The results in a corresponding change in dependent variable, that is in HR demand, is dependent variable. So on the databases, similar to trend analysis, regression uses historical data to forecast the future outcomes. The reliability of predictions increases when historical patterns are consistent and follow a linear trend. So basically we follow the linear trend in this case. So here the limitations of linear regressions are: if the relationship between independent and dependent variable is non-linear or it is random in nature, by using linear regression it may lead to inaccurate forecast. For non-linear relationship, the alternative forecasting model should be considered. Then multivariate regression, when multiple independent variables influence the outcome, the multivariate regression is used. In this approach, the combined effect of several variables on the dependent variables, which provides the robust forecast. Software for regression analysis, as I have already told that we can use SPSS as a tool. So the regression analysis, especially with a large data set or multiple variables, is typically conducted by using SPSS, that is statistical program for social sciences, which handles the complex computation efficiently. Simple linear regression, for example, a basic linear regression equation consider only one independent variable, which illustrates how changes in that variable affect the outcome in the straightforward manner. Simplifying the interpretation and understanding of the relationship, we can see the equation will be y is equal to a plus bx, which we can tell that it is the equation of straight line. So here the equation will be linear regression equation is will be y is equal to a plus bx, where y is equal to the dependent variable, that is the HR demand or number of employees required. A is constant, that intercept. B is the slope of linear relationship between independent and dependent variable. X is the independent variable, that is level of sales. So the value of B will be summation of x into y, that is xy, minus n x bar into y bar, divided by summation of x square minus n x bar square. So A is equal to y bar minus bx bar. Here n is number of observation, x bar is average of x, and y bar is average of y. We can get to know by some examples here. So here is a problem that the Bookmart is a fast growing dynamic company with an acceleration in sales and sales revenue. As the HR planner, one needs to forecast the requirement of marketing employees which required for $8 billion and $10 billion for sales. The following historical information is available to guide the regression analysis. Here we can say sales level are given, that is 2, 3.5, 4.5, 6.6 and 7, whereas number of marketing personnel equal to 20, 32, 42, 55 and 66. From the records of the company we get to know the above information represents 5 sets of observation of the independent variable x, that is sales levels. Here we can say the independent variable x is equal to 2, 3.5, 4.5, 6.0 and 7.0, and dependent variable y which represents your 20, 32, 42, 55 and 66. The number of observation that represents n which is equal to 5 as per the data in the given table. So here will be calculated the regression analysis. First of all, we should calculate the summation of x, summation of y, summation of x into y, x square. Similarly, we can find out the average of x, average of y. First of all, we can calculate the average of x. It is not shown in the slide. We can calculate the average of x. Then we can calculate the average of y. That is here the summation of x is 23, whereas summation of y is 215. Summation of xy is 1133, whereas summation of x square is equal to 121.50. So here if we will calculate the average of x will be finding by calculating the average, that is summation of x divided by 5, which will be equal to 4.6. So by calculating the value of b, here we can put the formula, that is b is equal to summation of xy minus n into x bar into y bar divided by summation of x square minus summation minus n into x bar square. So here we can say the summation of xy is equal to 1133, that given in the table, minus 5 into x bar. X average is 23 by 5, which is equal to 4.6. And if we will calculate the summation y bar is equal to 43 divided by here x square, summation of x square is equal to 1.2 1 to 1.50 minus 5 into x bar square. X bar is here the x bar is 4.6 square. So overall the value of b is equal to 9.17. And if we will calculate the value of a is equal to y bar minus bx bar. Here the y bar is 43 and b value is 9.17, that is being calculated here, and the x bar value is 4.6. Here by putting the formula we can find out the value of a is equal to 0.82. As per the equation, y is equal to a plus bx, that is given a plus bx. So here we can put the formula of a is equal to 0.82 plus B value is 9.17 into X. So here the interpretation for this equation is critical for our analysis. The equation indicates that even when the level of cells, the independent variable or the X is at 0, that is the requirement for the single marketing personnel is A is equal to 0.82 and it can be rounded to 1. So by heat and trial method we can calculate the value of Y. The model also indicates that for every unit, 1 unit that is $1 million increases at the cells level that is X, there is a predicted increase of 9.17 marketing personnel. So if we want to calculate the value of Y is equal to A plus BX, so we can put the value of X as per the given data, or we can start it from 0. By putting the different data on X, the value of Y can be changed. So this is the regression equation. So calculated the forecasted HR demand Y by using the values of X. So as in the question we have different values of X, that is 2, 3.5, 4.5, 6.0, 7.0. If we put the value of X, we can find the problem in this illustration pertains to the forecast, the number of marketing personnel when sales level forecast are 8 million and 10 million respectively. Suppose we can take the value of X as 8 million and 10 million. Hence the number of personnel required when the sales level is 8 billion are Y is equal to 0.82 plus 9.17 into 8, which is equal to 74.18. So manpower cannot be considered as fraction. So we can consider this approximately 74 marketing personnel. The number of personnel required when the sales level is 10 million. So at that time we can put the value of X here. We can find 92.52. Though the value after point is more than 5. So approximately there are 93 marketing personnel required. So the regression has proven itself to be a valuable tool for manpower planning, recruitment, selection in the long term or in the long run. Now comes to the cohort analysis. In this analysis, it is based on the predicting demand estimates due to change in cohort or group. Cohort means group. So this analysis also uses manpower wastage to make predictions of HR demand. The wastage refers to termination or attrition of the employees from an organization due to retirement, resignation, deaths, or you can say dismissal. So the cohort analysis considers the length of services as the critical variable in wastage analysis. So here the wastage, as in this slide it is mentioned that wastage are nothing but the termination and the attrition of the employees from the organization, the death of the employees from the organization, retirement and resignation, and dismissals of the organization. So here from the problem we can see the manpower wastage in the organization provided in the following table. In the 5 different years, in first year the manpower wastage is 50, the second year the manpower waste is 45, third year is 40, fourth year is 35 and fifth year is 30 from the previous record of the company. So first of all you have to find out the cumulative value. So the cumulative value can be cumulative wastage as in the table it is mentioned that the wastage of manpower is 50, 45, 40, 35 and 30. So here the cumulative wastage can be calculated by adding the current value with the previous one. Here we can say the cumulative wastage in past year, 0 year, it is 0. There is no value. In the first year, it was 50 and it will remain same. 50 plus 0, that is the previous value of 0th term. The 50 plus 0 is 50. For the second year, the 50 value, cumulative vestige value 50 will be added with 45. That means we can add here 50 plus 45, which is 95 is the cumulative value. Similarly, the in case of third year, the above 4 will be added. That is 0 plus 50 plus 45 plus 40. That is equal to 135. Similarly, in fourth year, the above 5 value will be added. That is 0 plus 50 plus 45 plus 40 plus 35, which is equal to 170. Similarly, for fifth year, we have to add all the manpower wastage, that is 1200. So, employee remaining, as in the previous slide we have seen the employee remainings are 500. It is given in the table: 450, 405, 365, 330 and 300. So survival or the churn rate is equal to 100%. We can say by calculating we can find it in 90%, 81%, 73%, 66% and 60%, which is given from the company data. The fifth column represents the survival curve or the churn rate of an organization that can be calculated through the number of employees remain in the given time, that is remain in the given time, divided by the number of employees in the beginning into 100, right? So by putting this formula, we can find out the churn rate in different rows in different years. So this analysis has limited use and is good for small homogeneous groups. It is not suitable for the large group. So it is also failed to capture many dynamic factors that impact HR movement in many industries. So by putting the formula, that is number of employees remaining at the given time divided by the number of employees at the beginning. In case of first row, the total number of employees remaining was 500 and the we can say what will be the value of churn rate? It is 100. Similarly, by putting the formula, we can find out the total value, total churn rate. So now we'll discuss about the qualitative methods of forecasting. First is the stakeholder inputs in HR demand forecasting. In addition to quantitative methods, the qualitative inputs from various stakeholders can significantly enhance the accuracy of HR demand forecasting by considering factors that quantitative methods may overlook. The nature of qualitative forecasting: this approach involves articulating assumptions, evaluating dynamic organizational scenarios, and developing a rationale to support numerical estimates, providing a comprehensive basis for HR forecasting. So, the key stakeholders in qualitative forecasting are line manager, HR specialist, industry specialist or consultant, and government agencies. First is line manager. With a thorough understanding of workload and responsibilities, line managers offer critical insights into future HR needs within their department or the units. Based on the data available or based on the manpower requirement of the particular department, that can be given by line managers only. HR specialist: here the HR professionals contribute expertise on workforce planning, supporting line managers in making more precise HR demand predictions for their teams. So here specialized, what they are doing, they will they are expertise on workforce planning, and they also support the line managers to understand the requirement of HR, and based on that they will forecast about the manpower in for the organization. Industry experts or consultants, business consultants, financial analysts, and academic researchers provide industry specific knowledge, offering objectives insights into future manpower needs and required competencies. So, and the government agencies, by analyzing the future economic and legislative changes, the government agencies provide industry wide HR demand projections, assisting organizations in understanding external factors that may impact the workforce requirements. So these are the key stakeholders for the qualitative forecasting. So the different qualitative methods in HR demand forecasting are expert method, scenario analysis, Delphi technique, focus group, and interview. So expert method, it involves the consulting experienced individual who can provide the valuable insights based on past trends and anticipated changes. In case of scenario analysis, here it examines the different potential future scenarios, for example, economic changes, technological advancement, to estimate HR demand under varying conditions. Next is Delphi technique. It gathers the opinions from a panel of experts, often through multiple rounds, to achieve consensus on HR demand estimates. Focused groups and interview, it conducting discussions with the employees and managers to capture the perspective or the perspectives of the future workforce needs and organizational developments. Briefly, we'll see here about Delphi technique, which is most common technique which is used in calculating the qualitative HR demand forecasting. The Delphi techniques, named after the Greek oracle at Delphi and further scientifically developed by the Rand Corporation in 1950, in the primary qualitative technique in providing projections in a long-term HR demand. Delphi technique is based on experts' view and their prediction through carefully designed program of sequential and individual interrogations. So this is the unique feature of the Delphi technique, is that the experts never meet face to face but are connected individually to the project coordinator. So the prime stages of these techniques are: determine the issues or questions of HR demand, identification and orientation of experts. First of all, the initial stage involves appointing a project coordinator who collaborates with the HR specialist to clearly define the specific unit vertical or the personal category of the HR demand forecast. This precise scoping is essential for Delphi technique's success, as it ensures the focus remains relevant and accurately targeted throughout the process. Identification and orientation of expert. The project coordinator, in consultation with the HR and the relevant unit or the vertical head, selects a team of expert as the best suited for the HR demand forecast. It is the critical that the chosen expert align with the forecast requirements established in the first stage. The external experts must be clearly informed about the terms of participation, the organizational context, and the nature of work for which the manpower forecast is being developed, along with the specified forecasting time horizon. That means all are interrelated to each other. The project coordinator should collaborate with the HR specialist, then only they can find out the expert team. So the First round of questionnaire, the project coordinators sends the expert identify the questionnaire for post, fax, or email with the time frame for completion. This round it entails the experts to provide their explicit assumptions and detailed rationale for the demand, which estimate or the projection that they provide. Summarize the and the second round of questionnaire. After the first round, the project coordinator compiles and shares the summary of all expert responses. In each following rounds, experts review this summary to adjust their initial estimates, refining their assumptions and rationales based on identified similarities and differences. Intensive rounds of questionnaire and conclusion. The project coordinator can either issue the predetermined rounds of questionnaire or till the group reaches the majority decision. In either case, the majority round summarizes and concludes the future HR demand estimates as provided by the experts. Overall, the demand provided by by the experts will be considered for the future of the organization. So Delphi is the useful and has a several advantages. Given its unique features of the expert not meeting face to face, the technique helps the members overcome the issues of shyness, communication deficiencies, issues of individual dominance and predominance of groupthink. Expert members can also be geographically dispersed and can provide the valid feedback without the pressure to conform. Despite these obvious advantages, there exist disadvantages too. Given given the iterative rounds of questionnaire administrations, the time and cost associated with the method can be more. The accuracy of Delphi techniques results relies heavily on the knowledge and commitment of selected expert, as the outcomes are not statistically verified. To avoid bias, experts should be chosen based on predetermined criteria and from diverse professional domains to ensure a balanced perspective in the HR demand forecast. So now comes to the nominal group technique. NGT or the nominal group technique is an organized qualitative approach used in HR demand forecasting, especially effective for small and homogeneous group. The technique involves a structured process where the group members share and listen to each other's view to reach swift decisions on critical issues. Each member independently notes down their demand, estimates, and opinions without initial group discussion, ensuring individual input. Unlike Delphi technique, NGT involves face-to-face interaction among the group members after individual estimates are displayed into the group. All the individual estimates are automatically transferred to the group, reducing the potential for personal ownership, which minimizes the personal attacks and prevents dominance by any single member. NGT fosters direct engagement and collective ownership of the estimates. The major steps involved in the nominal group technique methods are refining the issues and time horizon of forecast. First is the coordinator will define the problem and verify the assumption made for any redundancies. Then the timelines of forecast also need to be specified to the expert who will participate. The selection of expert and issue of the demand statement, the expert have consented to be a part of the progress or the process. They are issued the demand forecast statements along with the assumptions and time horizon. Preparation of initial demand scenario estimates. Experts are now ready to submit their final essential estimates prior to the face to face meeting. Each estimate is accompanied by the assumptions and sources of information that they may be unknown to the other members. Then, face to face meeting. After coordinator summarizes the initial estimates of selected expert, each estimate is presented individually with the underlying assumption. That is, icebreakers are introduced to ease of the group process, but individual interactions are minimized to perceive each participant's creative input. Next step is discussion of the demand estimates. Once the coordinator provides the cues to all the participating experts, the group begins a detailed analysis of demand estimates through discussion. A key rule in NGT prohibits any personal attacks on participants, ensuring respectful interactions. NGT treats all the initial demand estimates as a group property, focusing discussions on clarifying these estimates and their underlying assumptions. To prevent groupthink and conformity, NGT encourages diverse viewpoints among the experts. Then the secret ballot or determination of final demand estimate. A secret ballot is taken in the last stage of all the individual estimates to determine the majority approval or the highest ranking demand estimate in terms of number of votes. So finally, on the basis of vote or secret ballot system, the individual estimates to determine the majority approval or highest ranking demand estimate. The major steps involved in nominal group technique methods are: NGT overcomes many limitations of Delphi techniques. First of all, it mainly facilitating the face-to-face interactions among the expert, which allows the expert to gain a clear understanding of each other's estimates and underlying assumptions. NGT's structured approach is particularly beneficial for the introverted individual who may be less inclined to share in the large group meeting. NGT discourages the personal discussions and decisions are made through secret ballot. So experts feel more comfortable sharing their views without fear of bias or influence. The drawback of NGT is the challenge of coordinating in-person meetings, especially when experts are geographically dispersed. Now comes to the scenario forecasting. In case of scenario forecasting, the scenario forecasting relies heavily on qualitative inputs from both line managers and HR managers to predict future demand. The scenarios are developed through brainstorming session, allowing internal experts to explore potential future events and their impact on workforce needs. This technique establishes cause and effect relationship between possible scenario and their anticipated outcomes, providing the structured approach to underlining future conditions. The scenario forecasting is flexible and dynamic method, making it more adaptable to changes as compared to Delphic and NGT technique. This approach integrates the potential impact of future uncertainties, offering a more comprehensive view of possible HR demand amidst evolving conditions. The major steps involved in this technique are identification of likely scenario over the next 5 years. These scenarios can be optimistic, that is an estimate in increase of sales, or pessimistic, that is constant sales or a decrease in sales. Assessment of organization's preparedness for any scenario, that is assessment of manpower shortages, requirement of competencies, talent manager, manpower requirement, etc. Then assessment of strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats from the rivals over the 5 years time horizon, that is SWOT analysis from the rivals, from the rivalry group over the 5 years time horizon. Then assessment of changes in the quality and quantity of the manpower. For each scenario, developed assessment for the HR requirements to meet the threats and opportunities. These steps helps in understanding not only the future demand forecast in likely organizational scenario, they also help in planning for the prudent talent management and succession planning. So here we have discussed about the different methods, that is qualitative as well as quantitative methods of demand forecasting. We have discussed about demand forecast, HR demand forecasting with two case studies. In the first case study, we can see the elimination of jobs at Google, that is the HR demand forecast often vulnerable to the business cycle downturns. At the onset of 2023, Google, the tech giant, eliminates 12,000 jobs amounting to 6% of workforce. CEO Sundar Pichai took full responsibility of these layoffs and its impact on people. During a down hall meeting, supervisors, existing employees were concerned about their job security and displayed typical symptoms of survival syndromes. Google employees expressed their displeasure over the decision leading to layoffs, stating that most of them were random and not based on performance. While Pichai disagreed with this with these versions, he also mentioned that Google would provide full support to laid off employees. Google lays off have begun in the US and will be followed through in other countries, including India also. Pichai also stated that to maintain the current manpower requirements, the senior management at Google will undertake a significant decrease in their annual bonus. This includes Pichai as well, who received a massive hike in salary, keeping in mind his contributions. As per a report by Bloomberg, Pichai told employees that the layoff happened in the context of slow pace of growth experienced by the tech giant. He also mentioned that the process of layoffs in the countries other than the US would be lengthy depending on the laws of the process of respective nation. Google mentioned the withdrawal of numerous investors in the light of impending decision as one among the reasons for the huge layoff. Customers have also reduced their spending owing to inflation and pandemic related job cost. Hence, these fluctuations in customer demand and tech giant is also making significant adjustment to its HR demand forecast and making diverse attempt to sustain its current manpower levels. Major reasons why IT business are laying off thousands of employees can be attributed to predicted recession to strike in the US and Europe in 2023. Other regions include weak customers demand, rapid rate hike, pressure from investor, and cost cutting from the company. But lays or layoffs are not confined to IT industry only, but in financial, retail, energy, and healthcare are also affected. So this is the case study of eliminating of jobs at Google that shows the layoff strategies of IT giant Google, why the layoff has been done, the required amount of employees required for the organization. Similarly, in case of Microsoft also, it is also one of the IT giant, not only in India but also the worldwide. The successful planning at my IT giant. So first of all, we'll discuss about what we have studied. Then we'll go through the case study. So today we had discussed about determining the manpower requirements is the critical to success of every organization. Manpower requirements can be mapped by ascertaining HR demand and supply. This unit explains the concept of forecasting HR demand. It goes on to describe the wide variety of methods available for the forecasting HR demands. Trained ratio analysis, regression, and cohort analysis were coming under the quantitative methods discussed, while prominent qualitative methods focused on Delphi, NGT, and scenario forecasting. The advantages and disadvantages of these methodologies are also discussed. This unit will add up two practical cases, also connect the criticality of HR demand to succession planning, talent management, as well as organizational survival in difficult times. So these are all about the summary of this unit that we had discussed. So if we'll go through the succession planning at Microsoft, we can go through it very quickly. In the August of 2013, Steve Ballmer abruptly announced that he would be stepping down as the CEO of Microsoft as soon as his replacement could be found. This announcement was the prelude to the one of the greatest headhunting campaigns during the past decade. At the time of his announcement, Microsoft was the third most profitable company in USA. Surprisingly enough, the global tech giant had no lucid plan for a succession. Balmer had underperformed for the years in the light of slow move into the sectors such as mobile and social media coupled with the string of ill-fated acquisitions. Microsoft had also suffered the attrition of high-profile executives such as Windows chief Steven Sinopsi and Jobs head Don Matrix during the Balmer's tenure. For this succession planning, instead of looking at the promising candidates from within the organization, Microsoft started to look for the external candidates. The search for the top post was intense, spanning numerous industries domain and about 100 candidates. Post the discussion with the board, the final list of the probable candidates was 20. Two clear favorites had emerged. Now, Steve Molenkov, COO of Qualcomm, and Alan Mulally, the turnaround expert at Ford. Molenkov dropped out the competition once he became the CEO of his own organization, while the Mulai struck his own name from the list. So these are all about the case studies of succession planning at Microsoft. We can see this is how this 21 years old veteran Nadella with clear leadership skill, expertise, and cultural fit with the organization is taking over as the CEO of one day. While the company did make it the right decision at the end, its lack of planning would have led to the expensive disaster. So these are all about demand forecasting with two successful case studies of Microsoft as well as Google. Thank you.